Hi guys, it's Brian again. Well, I finished my writing for the day, pumped out 2,000 words. I went over some edits and now it's time to do a video. So, the second most requested subject on the email blast I did was writing advice. So, that's what I'm going to touch on today. I will be getting back to indie publishing very soon, probably either the next video or the video after. And I will be doing some more rants and doing some other things. And I do have some interviews in mind that I'd like to do. So sit back, take it easy, and listen up.
Welcome to the Cube with Brian B. Anderson.
You know, I gotta say that that intro's growing on me. I'm starting to like it. Anyway, today we're going to be covering info dumps. Now, what is an info dump, you might ask? You might not ask. But in case you are asking, an info dump is when you're passing on a bunch of information to the reader in a very short span of time, within, say, a paragraph or two or a page or two. Typically, this is done so the reader can understand the world better and move on in the story without confusion. Now, it's generally considered to be a poor choice and a very amateurish thing to do. It's often done because the writer doesn't understand yet how to drip and drab information throughout the story, or the story is very short, you have a limited amount of time in order to convey this information, so you have to find a vehicle in which to do it. Now, there's another reason for an info dump, and that's fear. Now, I did some research for this, looked at a bunch of different writers' take on info dumps, and that's the one thing I didn't see anybody mention: fear. You see, often aspiring writers, new writers, people just getting into this, they underestimate the reader. They underestimate their ability and desire to hang on through the story. Now, I'm going to use Brandon Sanderson as an example of what I mean here. When the Stormlight Archives opens up, and there's going to be some minor spoilers here, but nothing that should ruin the book for you if you haven't read it. You open up on Kaladin. He's in a cage. He's been enslaved. He has a bunch of burns on his forehead that are slave brands. You hear references to things like rock buds, spren, all this stuff, and Sanderson makes no attempt to tell you what any of that is. He waits, and as you go along in the story, you find out what spren are. Well, you think you know. You find out what a rock bud is. You find out all the different little things that don't exist in our world that he has manufactured for his world. You sort of slowly fill that in. And he does it brilliantly. Now, it would have probably been a lot easier for the slave wagon to stop, somebody to come by, and there's a conversation, and all that's explained. You understand why he's enslaved, what he's accused of, who all these people he keeps on referencing that you don't know who they are. It would have been really easy for Sanderson to do that, but he didn't. And the reader is left with a ton of questions, a bunch of stuff they don't know anything about, but the strength of the story carries them through, and it actually encourages them to keep reading. So rather than losing the reader by not giving them all this information that you think they need, but they don't necessarily need, you're actually encouraging them to keep going so they can find out and have these aha moments. You may be wondering now, well, how do I pass on the information? How do I drip and drab? Well, typically you do it through dialogue between characters, witnessing events. There can be inner dialogue. There's a lot of different little tricks to it, but you only give out what you need to know. Now, I'm going to sort of dive off into a little bit of a tangent to sort of show you what I mean. Okay, you have a character, his name's Bob, and he's waking up in his your standardized fantasy hovel. And he looks next to him in his nightstand, sees his Jenga sitting there with a chain broken at the clasp, damaged badly. And he frowns over at it and he's very upset. Now, he gets up, gets ready, takes the Jenga and the chain, throws it in his pocket. As he's on his way to the door, the thistle burrows and are twitting at a high pitch, wildly at a high pitch, and the snaggleduffs are particularly pungent. Now, Bob leaves. He goes down an alleyway, runs into 3 guys who mug him. He gives up his gold without a fight, but when they find that he has his Jenga in his pocket and the chain is broken, they want to take it from him. Of course, he fights for that with his, with everything he has. Of course, he gets his butt kicked, ends up unconscious in the street. So he wakes up. There's a city guard there. His significant other's there. Maybe a couple of his friends who found him in the street knew who he was, took him home. Tells the city guard that he can't identify the people who mugged him, and that he was on his way home from bringing his Jenga to the repair shop. So the reader, what I've done here in this short little scene is I've created a ton of questions that for the reader. I've created potential aha moments that I can stretch out for quite a while. The sound could be an insect, could be a bird, could be a rodent, who knows? Whatever you decide it is. And the smell could be an animal or maybe a plant that I can use for world building. Say the plant grows in filth mostly, and the stronger the aroma, the poorer the area. So you can pretty much gauge a lot about Bob's life by how strong that aroma is, and or how, as he goes to the city, if you want to mention that smell. The fact that he was very protective of the Jenga, that he also lied to the guard saying he couldn't describe the thugs, and that he was on his way home and did not report the theft. So I have created all sorts of questions without giving almost any information, and I've kept it exciting, but that's what I mean by dripping and drabbing your information. So I can say later on in the chapter, or later on a different chapter, explain about the plants, or maybe the sounds end up being from insects that come at a certain time of year and they're considered good luck or bad luck or whatever. I can use that with world building. Character building, I've already done some with his willingness to fight over the object. I've created a mystery around the object where you don't know why it's important, but just that it is. And I can slowly transition that into whatever main plot that I have in store for Bob. And the reader the entire time is discovering these new things along the way, and these little just eureka, oh yeah. You want the whole story to be these aha moments, these answered questions with more questions that get answered, and it keeps the read exciting. And that's primarily why you want to avoid information dumps. Alright, how about that for a tangent, huh? Look, I really considered taking that out, but I'm going to leave it. Anyway, it's important to remember that when distributing information about your world, your plot, your characters, to do it in a way that creates questions and mysteries for the reader to be answered. For every question that gets answered, you need to create more mystery. It keeps the reader engaged. And it's the primary argument against information dumps, because once the information's out there, then it's out there, and there's no more room for discovery. And you don't want that to happen until the end of the book. So hopefully this helped you a little bit. And if you have any other questions, do feel free to contact me. I haven't done a lot of instructional type videos, so I'm still getting the hang of this. So that's it. And you know what? I had a lot of fun doing this. Once again, this is Brian D. Anderson, and this is The Q. Hey, don't forget to click on the links below, like this page and the video, subscribe, do all that kind of neat stuff, and we will see you again really soon.